Relax, sit back as we fill your mind with spooky true crime stories of the deranged, unhinged, and absolute pure evil murders that will blow your mind. Some places we will visit to show you around and educate you on the history. Other times we will bring you to the paranormal because the dead never lie silent for too long.
Be the last time anybody sees us alive. I don't know where she has us, but we're gonna get fucking killed.
Hello? Gina, there is a beehive over there. Do you see that in the hole?
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the rumble and tumble city of Los Angeles. Reporting live on air. Yesterday, we had a magnitude 5.2 while we were recording in North Hollywood.
With Dan and Heidi, we did.
On Rare Form Radio.
Yeah.
So if you don't watch them, you will not see our live reaction. So you have to head over there for the listeners.
I don't know. We laughed the entire time.
It was really, really fun. But we went through an earthquake together.
Yeah.
So now we are officially earthquake sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
And brother. One
and
brother.
we put lip gloss on Dan.
Yes, we did.
Not even just lip gloss. We put lip plumper on Dan.
You know what? I was telling Kim about that this morning, and she was telling me she accidentally put one on her too, and she said it burns really bad. I have a lip plumper, but it doesn't burn like that. Mine just tingles my lips a little bit, but they were. I don't think anything that burns.
Regular old strawberry flavored lip gloss.
I just think anything that burns is probably not good for you. Just rub a chili pepper on you. So I don't know.
It was very interesting to say the least, but a very funny episode nevertheless, because
now all the conspiracy theorists,
you get four cackling broads together with Dan. Poor guy. I don't know how he survived. And he was so tired.
But he survived. He did.
And we just came from dinner, and so he was
But so all the conspiracy theorists can come together again because it's hot, humid. We had an earthquake in LA. Everybody thinks when the temperature changes drastically that we have earthquakes. And then today we're like 12 degrees cooler or 7 degrees, some kind of degrees cooler. And we have the earthquakes happening. But we haven't had like a lot of earthquakes like in the 90s, 80s and 90s, end of the 80s, early 90s. I felt like we had a bunch all together and big ones.
Yes.
And we haven't had them in a while.
We haven't.
And really a 5.2 isn't really a big earthquake.
Big enough for me because if anybody knows me, I am petrified and terrified of earthquakes. I used to say fire, flying, and earthquakes. So I've taken flying off of my list.
And as of yesterday, you took earthquakes off.
No, earthquakes will never come off that list. Never. I don't think I've lived here my whole entire life, and I don't think I will ever I don't think you get used to earthquakes.
You don't. Like, it is a little bit of a startle when they first happen because you don't know if they're going to get stronger.
And that's my fear. Like, you don't know. Is it going to get bigger? Is it going to get harder? Is it going to, like, my house going to collapse? Yeah. Like,
is this the beginning of the end?
And there's no warning.
No.
Like with a hurricane, a tornado, you have a warning, whatever. And I don't know, they have like some earthquake detection thing, but it gives you like 2 seconds. Like, what am I can't even read my phone in 2 seconds.
I can't even reach for my phone to see what's alerting me in 2 seconds.
Shannon can't even find her phone half the time.
I can't. But I do have people in the Midwest that tell me like, oh, I'll take a tornado any day over an earthquake. But I'm like, the last time we had a really, really big earthquake was 94 Northridge. Yeah. I go, every single year you guys get tornadoes coming through. Like, I cannot live with that stress of having tornadoes coming through.
No, that's true. That is true.
And multiple.
Yes.
And so now we not only have Twister, we have Twisters. Movie number 2. No, but you know, like,
to really scare people.
Yeah, it's just there's too much weather going on. But by the way, global warming's not happening, people. So just, don't worry about it. So what story do you have today? Because I have no part of this story, and I'm just going to be an active listener and question seeker.
Oh, Lord. Here we go. Before we get to that, I did want to touch on, because I had my friend Amanda from work, she had sent me this TikTok about this gentleman who is on TikTok and has blown up on TikTok. Let me know if you guys have heard of him. I cannot recall his name at this very second, but this man is claiming that his father is the Zodiac killer.
You did send that to me.
So he follows our Instagram. He follows our 50 States of Madness Instagram. So I reached out to him and I messaged him to try to get him to be a guest on the podcast. And I had a feeling, I told my mom, I said, I have a feeling that like this is either going to be absolutely nothing or it's just going to blow up.
Yeah.
So it was the latter. It is completely
yeah.
blown up. I believe that this man has now been contacted probably by like Oxygen or the Travel Channel or somebody big. So I believe
we don't have anything to offer.
He has signed some kind of disclosure saying that he will not speak on it anymore. So yeah, but he has 3 parts up on his... I'll find his name and his TikTok and I'll put it in here.
Well, it's right here.
Because if nothing else, it's
sent
very, very interesting. The information that this man has. I don't think I sent you all 3 parts because he did them 3 days apart.
I followed him. Like as soon as you sent him, like I go down the rabbit. You know me. I go down the rabbit hole. I don't just watch that one.
I watch
all of them. No, I ended up following him. But my question is, if he signed this agreement, did he have to take down his TikToks?
I don't think so. He just said I can't. There should be 4 parts up there, and on the 4th part is when he says that I've been contacted by some of the biggest podcasts and biggest news outlet medias, and so now I've said that I can't.
How funny. He's probably saying, how cute little 50 States of Madness tried to reach out to us.
Look at these broads, how cute they think they are.
We tried before
I did, because I knew this was going to happen. I had a feeling because
it happened in days.
He went from like 19,000 followers to like 19 million followers in 2 days or something.
It's crazy.
Something crazy like that. But
his name is J.Foy. So it's J.Foy on TikTok. So if you guys want to follow him.
Yeah, and he has an Instagram too. So
it's pretty compelling. I actually think he's
onto something for sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Without a doubt. So if nothing else, check him out and let us know what you think of his story.
Be his 20 millionth follower, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So our story today, Johnny actually had sent this YouTube video to me about this, and it really caught my attention because, as you know, like I'm a huge fan of the show Dexter, and I feel like this gentleman is kind of like he's from Alaska, so he's like the Alaskan.
It's
Dexter.
not the one. It's not the one that they actually based Dexter off of.
No.
Okay. This is a different.
So this gentleman's name is Jason Vukovich, and he's called the Alaskan Avenger.
Oh, like a superhero.
Right?
There we go.
So he was born in Anchorage, Alaska on June 25th, 1975 to a single mother. Jason Vukovich was later adopted by his mother's new husband, Larry Lee Fulton. But instead of his guardian, Fulton became his abuser.
That's sad. It's very common that you hear that.
Yeah, it's terrible. This is a really, really sad story. And, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. He says, both of my parents were dedicated Christians and had us in every church service available, 2 or 3 each week.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What?
The hypocrisy of it all.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, not only, let's just go down the checklist of every, they checked every box. Serial killers past.
Yeah, he's checking
church
every
going,
box.
Abused, stepfather.
Can you guys see this up here for you that are watching YouTube?
Some fancy
my
light
God.
system.
My lights are falling slowly. Maybe by the end of the podcast, they'll be down here.
That's all right.
We're really working on our backgrounds right now. I know it clearly doesn't look like it, but I ripped the whole room apart and I tore everything down. So my apologies for being really boring right now, but we'll get there. Yeah. So he
would go to church 3 times a week. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's
insane.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's just so funny how there's such church-going folk. And yet
and this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is what happens. So he later wrote in a letter to the Anchorage Daily News, So you can imagine the horror and confusion I experienced when this man who adopted me began using late night prayer sessions to molest me. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all too common these days, we'll say.
Yeah.
And I have to be careful, like the verbiage that I use on here too. So
Because of YouTube.
Yeah. So in addition to the abuse, we'll just say the essay.
Yeah.
Fulton used violence against Vukovich. He beat the child with pieces of wood and whipped him with belts. Years later, at Vukovich's trial, his brother testified about what they had suffered as boys. So he has a brother that they're very close in age, and they both went through this. We'd roll over on the bunk beds, and we would be up against the wall, said Joel, who is his brother. It was my job to go first, so he would leave Jason alone. Their father was charged with second-degree abuse of a minor in 1989, but he served no prison time, and according to Vukovich, no one ever came to check in on the family afterward.
So he stayed married to the mother after this?
Sounds
That's
like
sick.
it. The abuse continued until Vukovich was 16 years old, at which point he and his brother ran away. So, could you imagine being 16 years old? Obviously, you're not having any support from your mother.
Yeah.
Your stepfather is obviously doing this stuff to you, and you have to run away at 16 years old.
Yeah.
That's your only way out. Like, I just got to pack my stuff and I got to go.
How do you take care of yourself at that young of an age?
I mean, I kind of feel like it's either going to go one of two ways. Either you're going to go really, really downhill quickly, or you're going to grow up real quick.
Yeah.
So,
Or you become the Alaskan Avenger.
exactly.
You become a superhero.
Still underage, Vukovich moved to Washington State. With no identification or financial recourse, he turned to thievery to survive and built a rap sheet with local cops. Vukovich admitted that his descent into crime fit into a cycle of self-hatred that he had started during his childhood abuse. My silent understanding that I was worthless, a throwaway. The foundations laid in my youth never went away. This stuff just...
It breaks your heart.
It does, but it's just so sad that this stuff never goes away. Like, it just...
Nope.
It's with them forever. And I feel like even if you go to therapy and you do stuff like, it's
always there.
It's always going to be there. It's just always going to be there. By then, Jason Vukovich had a criminal record spanning from Washington and Oregon to Idaho, Montana, and California. Mind you, this guy is from Alaska.
Yeah.
He's moving.
A lot of traveling.
He's traveling around the 50 states. Around 2008, he moved back home to Alaska. There, he racked up a number of criminal charges, including theft, possession of a controlled substance, and assault of his then wife, and which he denies. So he was accused of assaulting his wife, who he was married to then. He's divorced, but he does say that he didn't do that.
He said, I did everything else, just not that.
But I didn't do that. In 2016, Vukovich's untreated childhood trauma reached a boiling point. He began to read through the registry of people who commit crimes on children.
Yeah.
We'll say, in Alaska, and decided he was going to get his own brand of justice. In June 2016, he sought out 3 men who were listed in the Alaskan registry for crimes related to children. With a notebook filled with his names and addresses of these offenders he found in the public index, he targeted the homes of Charles Albee, Andres Barbosa, and Wesley Demarest.
This is kind of like what people want to do when they move into their neighborhoods around here. Like, you know, but it is scary that you actually can have these people's addresses.
Yeah.
And you have all their information, their name, where they live and everything. I'm surprised this type of justice doesn't happen more often.
Yeah. No, I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. The Alaskan Avenger knocked on Albee's door first on the morning of June 24th, 2016. He pushed the 68-year-old man inside and ordered him to sit on his bed. Vukovich slapped him across the face several times and told him how he'd found his address and that he knew what he had done. Then Vukovich simply robbed him and left. 2 days later, he used the same method to enter Barbosa's home. This time, however, he appeared at 4 a.m. and brought 2 female accomplices. He threatened the 25-year-old registered offender with a hammer, told him to sit down, and he punched him in the face before warning him that he would bash in his dome.
That's what we call the head.
A later bail memorandum revealed that Vukovich stated he was there to collect what Barbosa owed, as one of the 2 women filmed the incident with her cell phone. Vukovich and the other woman then robbed Barbosa and stole several items, including the man's truck. So he's getting a little...
More and more aggressive.
Yeah. The third time Vukovich went after one of his targets, he escalated the violence. Demarest heard somebody breaking into his home around 1 a.m. Yet again, Vukovich had knocked on the door and then forced himself inside. He told me to lay down on my bed, and I said no, Demarest recalled. He said, get on your knees, and I said no. Vukovich struck Demarest in the face with his hammer. During the assault, Vukovich told his victim, I am an avenging angel. I'm going to mete out justice for the people you have hurt. Jason Vukovich stole an assortment of items, including a laptop, and fled. Waking up in his own blood, Demarest called the police. It didn't take long for authorities to find the perpetrator, as Vukovich was sitting in his Honda Civic nearby with a hammer, stolen goods, and a notebook containing the names of the 3 assault victims. Oh, he was just like, all right, come get me. I'm waiting. Jason Vukovich was arrested on the spot and later charged with 18 counts of assault, robbery, burglary, and theft. He initially pleaded not guilty but opted to make a deal with the prosecution instead. Vukovich pled guilty to first-degree attempted assault and a consolidated count of first-degree robbery. In exchange, prosecutors dismissed over a dozen additional charges. This led to his sentence in 2018 of 28 years in prison with 5 years suspended and another 5 on probation.
I'm sorry, there are people out there who have murdered people who've gotten less time than that.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
I thought back to my experiences as a child. I took matters into my own hands and assaulted 3 men, he wrote. That's not what he wrote.
The child
P-word.
offenders, yeah. The men who assaulted children.
If you have already lost your youth like me due to a child abuser, please do not throw away your present and your future by committing acts of violence. Vukovich appealed his sentence on the grounds that his PTSD should be considered a mitigating factor in his case, but he lost the bid in October 2020. Despite his hero status among some Alaskans, the judge ruled vigilantism won't be accepted in our society. Jason Vukovich's final victim, Wesley Demarest, has publicly expressed his relief that Vukovich is behind bars, adding that he would prefer if Vukovich wasn't walking around while I'm alive.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
Because you're an offender.
I mean, I don't think he'd do
I'm sure those
anything again,
children probably would have been more happy if you weren't walking around either.
And that's what he says.
Oh.
One article written about Demarest's reaction remarks dryly, one must wonder if his victims feel the same.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now 70 years old, Demarest struggles to form coherent sentences. He has also lost his job in the wake of a traumatic brain injury he sustained at Vukovich's hands. It's just pretty well destroyed my life, he said. So he got what he wanted, I guess. I mean...
Oh, you destroyed a child's life because they have to live with that for the rest of their life, too.
Yeah. I
have no empathy or sympathy for this man.
Yeah, I don't either. I really, really don't. It's...
Yeah.
You want us to feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Vukovich's attorney, Ember Tilton, meanwhile, shares the views of thousands who have pledged their support for this client on several online petition sites pleading for his release. To them, the periodic violence and trauma is unlikely to end by keeping victims turned criminals in jail. I don't think he needs to be punished, said Tilton. He's already been punished. This whole thing started out as the punishment of a child who didn't deserve to be treated this way. Jason Vukovich has urged others who have been victims of childhood abuse to seek inner peace and reject vigilante justice. I began my life sentence many, many years ago. It was handed down to me by an ignorant, hateful, poor substitute for a father, he wrote. I now face losing most of the rest of my life due to a decision to lash out at people like him. To all those who have suffered like I have, love yourself and those around you. This is truly the only way forward. I mean, I know they say like an eye for an eye and, you know, is that, but at the same time, this guy, and I don't know if this makes this any better, but this guy wasn't just out there hunting these people down. He was also a victim himself.
Yeah.
So to me, like, he
targeted certain
warranted,
people,
you know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you don't want people going out getting their own justice. I mean, I guess the justice system, you know, those guys did their time. They did what they did. They were released. They have to register as a sex offender for the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. And you can't have people going after them, but I don't have any empathy or sympathy for you just because it happened to you.
None whatsoever.
You know, I don't care if you're going to have to feel like that for the rest of your life because it's pretty shitty what you did to a child.
Yeah.
So they
can never get that. I mean, look at what has happened to this guy.
Yeah.
This guy, Jason, you know, and how many more of them are out there that are suffering like him every single day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure a bunch.
Yeah.
So, so I thought that was a little kind of a different story.
There was no murder.
That was, you know.
So those guys got off easy. I mean, we normally cover murder stories, so they survived. So count your blessings, sir.
Yeah, and there is a GoFundMe that people donate to, and he's got quite a bit of money. I want to say like $17,000 that people put on his books for him to, like, you know,
live the life in jail.
Yeah.
28 years, I feel like, is a really long time.
It's a very long time.
For not killing somebody. Mm-hmm. When there's people literally out there who have spent less time.
Yep.
I was just because we never cover Australian stories, so I'll just briefly cover this one. But I was watching a story that happened in Australia where a 10-year-old little girl was murdered by a 14-year-old.
Oh my God.
Yes. And the 14-year-old had all these signs that she was going to kill somebody because she kept threatening to kill her parents. She kept saying she wants to kill somebody. There were warning signs. Mm-hmm. And
there usually always is that everybody turns away from.
And so this couple was with their two daughters, and one of them was the 14-year-old, their older daughter, was watching a 10-year-old a neighbor's 10-year-old. Well, it was the grandchild of the neighbors, but anyways, they were watching this child for a week, and the 14-year-old started being mean, wanted to play this game called like serial killer where you chase them and stuff, and the girl didn't want to play. You know, imagine like you're 10 years old and a 14-year-old is like wanting to play these games with you, but she just ended up killing her in such a way that when the parents were telling their story, that they were saying how do the perpetrator, I understand she's 14, but she did this crime. Yeah. She's getting more services for mental health and more care than the parents who have gone through this trauma. Mm-hmm. And they literally the dad was saying how he would try to talk to mental health care professionals and
beforehand or
no,
after?
No, not the dad of the daughter. The dad of the one who passed away.
Okay.
That his daughter died such a horrible death that nobody in the mental health care realm wanted to even listen to him. The one girl that he was seeking therapy from actually had to quit because it took a toll on her mental health. God. And it wasn't even her daughter, just by listening to him talk about.
Oh God.
The words that they said they got no support afterwards from the cops. It seemed like all the support went to the 14-year-old who committed the crime.
Oh my God.
And they said they even have this like real weird rule that they're trying to overturn over there in Australia, where if your crime is committed by a minor, you can't talk about your child who the crime was committed by, because people might put together the pieces of who
did it?
perpetrator is, and the perpetrator's underage, so they don't want to give their information away, so therefore you can't talk about your child. And they're like,
wow.
I don't have a voice to talk about my child. And it was just really weird. But there was some loophole where they signed something and they ended up speaking about her. Cute little girl. Her name was Bridget. Yeah. Well, I laughed earlier when it fell. You didn't see. So her name was Bridget, and they called her Biddy. But anyways, so but the cops actually explained to the dad. They said, or like when the autopsy guy, the medical examiner, said something to the effect of, you can go in and see her after we put her back together.
Oh God.
That's how horrible the crime scene was. And this girl,
it was only done by herself.
By herself. But my point being, this girl, so they wanted to give her, because she was underage, they went to the parents and said, if we give her manslaughter, she'll be out in 6 years. By 20.
Yeah.
They can only keep her till she's 20 or whatever. So she'll be out in 6 years. But if we give her, like, due to insanity or like mental health, the minimum she'll be in there is 13 years, like minimum 13 years, maybe as much as 18 years, because they have this medical board has to deem her, sane in order for sane for her to come out, blah, blah, blah. So the parents were like, oh yeah, so let's keep her in there longer, without disclosing everything. Like, she can be out way sooner.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they started letting her do? This happened in 2020. Already right now, she gets day release. 4 years.
Oh God.
She gets to go out.
Wow.
To the park, walking around and everything, and it's like she did this horrific
What was her
crime.
reason for
She just wanted to kill somebody. She was always talking about it. I guess kids at school would call her creepy and psycho.
So she was probably bullied.
She was, but she was aware that she did act like this. And they said, well, what would make you want to hurt her? And she goes, well, she hurt me the day before. Well, how did she hurt you? She tried to break my fingers. This 10-year-old, right? And they're like, well, how did she do that? Well, we were playing the slap hand game, and my hand was like right here, and she hit it hard.
Oh God.
And so that's your reason for
to kill her.
And she had knives that she gave names to. And she wanted a tomahawk, and the parents bought her a tomahawk. And they buy her these like knives, and she gave them names, and it was just insane. But going back to like where some people who commit crimes against children are serving less time.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
She's
the
like in a
justice system is just.
Yeah, she's getting all the support she needs. And granted, this is in Australia and stuff. It's not here, but I feel like it would be the same here.
It's same
Like,
here. Yeah, it's just it's
It wouldn't be
wrecked.
any different. Yeah.
Our justice system is absolutely wrecked.
So I can never
really
make a story
is.
short. I'm sorry. So anyways, yeah. I could have told that whole story, but we're 50 States of Madness. So, we're not going into Australia stories. But yeah, no, it was terrible.
No, that's an awful story.
So, but
Well,
thank you, everybody.
for joining us for another week.
Yeah.
And we will be back next week. We will, if you want to catch Rare Form Radio's episode, it will be out next Thursday.
If you want to be annoyed by 4 ladies cackling and one man banging his head against the...
But we had so much fun.
We did.
We always do.
I laughed so hard my stomach was hurting.
Yeah.
It was hurting literally today when you guys started texting today, and I started laughing again. I'm like, oh my God, my stomach still hurts.
I know.
Yeah. So...
All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody that has reached out and commented. My daughter did last week's episode.
She was so cute.
So thank you for everybody.
She did so good. I'm going to be replaced. Watch. Or we can have a third co-host here, a third hostess. A hostess with the mostess.
No, because I told her, I said she was really nervous about doing it. And then I texted her yesterday or the day before, and I was like, hey, do you work on Friday? And all she texted me back was yes. I was like, okay. So I just was like, all right. So then I was talking to her today, and she's like, oh, did you need me for something Friday? And I said, well, I'm going to Vegas. I wanted to know if you wanted to go. And she was like, "Oh, that's why you called me? I thought you wanted me to record." And I was like, "Oh, okay. That's what you get."
Girl, get back. She did so good. Come and record. She was so cute. She's my personality. She's my mini me. So
Yeah. No, she probably will when you're out of the country. Maybe
country.
I'll have her.
Yeah.
I'll have her do some
Okay,
stuff.
okay.
So yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another week. Make sure and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all at 50 States of Madness. If you would like to join our Patreon, we are at patreon.com/50 States of Madness. We are now starting this week, we will be posting weekly on our Patreon for our $20 members. And we will be either talking about a missing person case or a cold case.
yes.
And the $10 tier will get 2 of those a month, and the $20 tier will get
Weekly.
weekly.
Yeah.
And so we figured that would be something good, because unfortunately we will never run out of cold cases or missing.
That's the
missing
saddest
persons.
part, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and our merch store is 50statesofmadness.bigcartel.com.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you to all the people that have purchased lately too. Make sure and send us your pictures when you get your stuff.
Awesome.
All right. And we will see you guys next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.